This time I have a TASCAM DA30 MK2 digital audio tape deck. Lights on, no one home, as they say. The VU meters show that you've got sound, but there's no audio out. The outputs on the back, the analog outputs, are completely dead. This one's had the belts changed on it. There's a problem in the audio processing. It's quite a common failure on these. I'll show you what goes wrong. It's not hard to fix, it's just hard to get to the part. Let's check it out. Today I got a TASCAM DA30 MK2. The belts apparently have already been replaced on this. It has no sound. So we're going to pop this one apart. I already pulled the screws out of the side, but I think I got to get a few of the back. And we'll see what's going on with this one. I have this one and another DAT here, and then I may not see any for a while. I guess it depends on when they come in, but this is the MK2. At this point I haven't got a clue what the problem with it is. First I'll power it up. Okay, I see signal here, but I don't hear any sound. Okay, well, I guess we have to look into the audio, to the analog circuit. I see signal on the meters, so it's obviously playing something back, but that's the radio. Nothing is coming out of the outputs on the back of it. So I wonder if that means I gotta, oh, yeah, I gotta, there's a board on the bottom here I should probably take a look at. I may have to use the scope on this and check some regulators and so forth. We'll check the regulators first and see if we've got power. .13 volts, and there's 9 volts there, and this one here is 5 volts. This is 12 volts in. That's 5 volt output. What is this pin here? This has got 5 leads on it. 5 volts, 4.86. So that's a 5 volt regulator. This is a 9 volt regulator. Those are working. As you can see, these units were full of bodges from the factory. They had to modify these units because there was quite a few things wrong with them when they left the plant, and they had to fix them all out in the field and do a lot of mods on them. So you'll see bodge wires and extra parts added on a lot of these units. I got a DA30 which has got lots of, well, it's got issues still. Here's another bodge over here, you see. Brought a wire up from below and soldered it on here. The fact that I have audio on the meters indicates that it's reading the tape. The problem is likely on the analog board. I'm going to pull the digital board out so that I can access the analog board from below and get some measurements down there. It's almost like it's stuck in mute, but why is the question. These are not the easiest to work on because they've got the multiple boards, and you have to take the board out to access the board below it, unlike some machines where the boards just swing out of the way. Not this one. This one you got to actually unscrew all the connectors at the back here so that you can pull the board out and kind of swing it out of the way to work on. So let me get that board removed and we'll do some tests below. I have to laugh, there's a local that's got a Sony DAT non-working up on Facebook, and he's asking like 80 bucks for it. I told him it's not working, it's worth maybe $20 at the most because it's not functional. And the guy's like, oh, it's just something simple. I responded back to him and said, so you're an engineer, you know what's wrong with it? He said, well, no. I said, well, then you don't know it's something simple. it could be something very, very difficult or impossible to fix, because the parts, you can't get parts for these things anymore. I said to the guy, I said, I'll give you 20 bucks for it as a parts donor, and that's about it. It's not worth anything else. And in many cases, they're not. All right, this is the analog board down here. And there's a couple more regulators down here. I'm wondering if maybe one of these regulators has gone bad. But again, I can't measure it with the board in this set because of the back on here. I'll have to pull it back in order to be able to get in there and probe them and check voltages. We may have a bad regulator on here. That's what I'm hoping. It's going to be a regulator type issue. I might be able to check and see if there's any inputs coming in down here on some of these shielded cables, because the DA should be on the other board. It should be digital, or it should be analog on this board. These ones here, these ones I know go to the level controls in the front. None of these are labeled, so I don't know what they do. But I should see some analog signals on here. The meters are working, but I don't know on this particular one whether the meters are operated from the digital circuits or whether they're after the DA. I'm going to check the regulators down here. I can get at two of them. This looks like a 12 volt, 7805. So we got a 12 and a 5 volt regulator down here. Let's just check the output from this one. This is the 12 volt regulator, and we have 12.1 volts. Let's check this 5 volt regulator down here. What do we got on this guy? 2.3 volts. That might be the problem. What's the input to it? 12? Should be 12 volts going in. Yeah, 12 volts going in. It's only 2.3 coming out of this regulator. That is likely the problem on this one, is we're missing a voltage. I can't check the other ones unless I pull the back plane, but that one for sure is bad. So let's just start by pulling this board and changing out that regulator. I think I got a 5 volt regulator around here. I should have a 7805. I should just check my inventory and see what I've got. But that certainly could cause the problems that we're having with this one. Missing a 5 volt voltage if it's too low. The op amps aren't going to work, and it's going to put the system in mute. So I got a new regulator here. I just made a special trip to pick one up, and of course it has a metal tab, and this one has a plastic tab. So I'm going to have to, I guess, use the insulator kit. I think this, as long as this isn't grounded. I'll find out, I guess, when I get in. But I did pick up an insulator kit that costs twice as much as the regulator, believe it or not. That's the way things are. Alright, to do this, I've got to get this board out as well. That means removing the other jacks. Undo my scope probe there, don't need that. Get that out of the way for now. Oh, come on. You gotta be kidding. What else has got to come out? This rail's got to come out over here. There's a rail on the other side here that's in the way. It's got to remove this rail. There we go. That's better. Alright. Now I can change that regulator. And of course, these are probably negative regulators on this side. Yeah, 7905 and 7912. Hopefully they are not bad, because I didn't get any of those. I just got a 7805 to replace the one that we see the voltage is low on, which is that one right there. So let's get to changing. I'm just going to let my soldering iron warm up for a minute. I'm just going to unplug a few plugs here just so I can turn the board around so I can see what I'm doing. This is the regulator on the back here I need to get to, and these ones are plastic, but I think we might be okay with the metal back, because these are isolated from each other, and the heat sinks are grounded. You can see them here. They are connected to the middle pin, which is ground. So I don't think I have to worry about the shorting out. But I did get the isolation kit just in case it was needed, as I didn't want to have to make a second trip back to the shop to pick it up. But here, our middle pin here is grounded. If I go on there, see, so we're okay. I don't need to put the isolation kit in. I'll just put that away for someday when I need it, because as I say, this costs more than the regulator, like twice the price of the regulator, just for 2 pieces of mica and 2 little pieces of plastic. So I can put that away. I won't need it on this one because this is grounded. I'll put some heatsink goop. Now again, I'm not putting the insulator on. It doesn't need it. The pin number 2 is ground, and that's connected to ground. So there's not an issue with not isolating it. Even though the original one had a plastic back, we can get away with it on this. If the back of the heatsink was not grounded, if it had potential on it, for example, then yes, I'd have to put the insulator in. I will resolder the others while I'm at it here, just because they heat up and cool down and you get the thermal shock that happens. Get a close-up just to make sure there's no solder bridges on anything there. It looks good. Don't see any bridges anywhere. I can see between the pins. Okay, I'll remount the board and see if we get any sound. That notification I just got was from my internet provider and the company I happen to work for, telling me that they're going to shut my service down tonight to perform maintenance. Wonderful. I love it when they pull this crap. I'll be sure I set my alarm, because quite often when they do it, they kill the power, or they reset the ONT. And when the ONT resets, it goes offline momentarily and then comes back. Well, the problem with that happens when it goes offline is that the battery goes off of the output from the ONT. And my alarm system monitors the battery. So what will happen when it resets is my siren will go off in the middle of the night for, well, until I get up and turn it off. It's major annoying when it happens. Even though I have a backup, a UPS backup. If they do a reset, it shuts off for, I think it's 30 seconds while it's rebooting. But that's long enough for the phone line detection on my old antique alarm system to detect that the voltage is dropped and go into a local alarm and set off the siren. And I just love waking up my neighbors when that happens. And then I say, my neighbors comment about, how you can blame the phone company. They did some overnight maintenance. Even though I knew it was coming, I played dumb and pretend that I don't know that it's coming. Now, as to why I arm my alarm at night, well, my shop's also alarmed. So if someone were to say break into my car and open my garage door with the garage door opener, I want to know that they're opening my garage door. And I want them to know it too. Because that's what crooks do, is they break into cars and they use the garage door opener to open the garage door. So if someone breaks into my garage, or someone breaks into my car and uses my garage door opener to open my garage door, it sets off the house alarm. And that will generally scare them away. So I don't not arm my alarm at night. I arm it every night. Okay, let's plug this unit back in. I don't need to reset this board just yet. I can just leave it sit there, and we'll see whether this thing works. Play. Pause. Play. Any questions? 5-volt regulator. I don't know how many of these I've seen, but if you've got a DA30 Mark II and your meters are bouncing away and you don't have sound, that's going to be the culprit. Either the 5-volt or the negative 5-volt regulator. The reason it happens, you lose a voltage, the voltage goes low. They use op amps that require both a positive and a negative supply. And the DAC is on this board. We saw it on the bottom. That's why I didn't see any analog signals. I saw digital signals when I scoped them. I didn't show you guys them, but I saw digital signals. I was expecting maybe I'd see analog, but the DAC is not on this board. The DAC's actually on the bottom of this one. So that's why we weren't seeing any analog signals on the board. The VU meters are actually measuring digital. They're measuring the bit stream. They're not measuring the after decoded sound. So that's why they were moving. But we had no audio because the DAC is under here. And without both the positive and the negative supply voltage, the DAC doesn't work. So I can throw this one together, and guy who owns this one will be jumping for joy. He's a regular customer that I've done a lot of work for, and he sends me a lot of stuff because, well, I typically do know what I'm doing when it comes to these things, even though I'm not a DAT expert by any stretch of the imagination. But I've certainly fixed enough of them so that I kind of know my way around them, and don't typically have a lot of problems working on them. At least these TASCAMs. I hate the Walkman type ones. The little tiny Walkmans, like the Denons and the Casios and that stuff. I don't like the Walkmans. They're just too bloody small to really to do any work on them. But these professional decks, I like them. I've got a DA30 myself, not a Mark II, just a DA30, but mine is once again, I've already fixed it a few times, mine's once again giving me trouble, so I'm going to have to deal with that again. But again, my own equipment generally is not the highest priority, so I will get to it again at some point. Let me just throw the screws in this one. I'm set up to make a recording now, entering recording pause mode, and we'll make a recording. I'm going to do it at 48 kilohertz, which is the best quality sounding speed, and see if I can select ID start. Is that how it works? I don't know how to work this thing. ID select, ID start right. I guess that's what I do. I'll hit play, and then I'll start my music here, execute. Here, I'm writing it. We'll let this record and play it back, make sure everything's working, and then I can do my tests on this one. I don't think I'm going to have to test this one for 24 hours like that VCR, because it was pretty cut and dry what the problem was. We had a bad regulator on this, and I was able to go in and change it. But again, I'll give it a full test run before shipping it back, because it's going a long ways back to Texas. But I think we can safely say that this one's probably working, as long as it records. Plays fine, let's make sure it records. We'll check it out once I finish the recording. And you see the mistake people make on these is that they see the regulators here and they check these regulators, and of course they got voltage. And they say, oh, my regulators are okay, but they totally forget about the regulators that are hidden under here. And that's the one that goes bad, is the ones under here. I've mentioned it before, I'll say it again. Digital audio tape is my favorite audio tape format, just because of the sound quality. I think my two favorite recording formats right now for recording on is, well, I still like DAT, but I've got a lot of DAT tapes that I've recorded over the years. But the recordable CDs, the TASCAM CD recorder I've got, that's that cat's ass. I really like that unit. Record onto CDRW discs, get a compilation just how I like it, and then I take the disc and I just fire it in the computer and burn a permanent copy onto a CDR is typically what I do, and then erase the CDRW disc and start over. I used to use the DAT for logging stuff off the music channels, because that's what I do. I don't stream. I don't have a subscription to Spotify or anything else. I have my subscription to my digital music service that comes in as my cable package, and I can take the optical output from my cable box, run it into, I used to use my DAT machine for this. I'd record a 2-hour tape, and then I'd sit back and I'd play the tape back, and I'd just copy the tracks I wanted onto the computer. Now I just record onto a CD, a CDRW from my cable box, and then I can take that disc and just rip the tracks I want off of that. I don't have to listen to it in real time. I just put the disc in. It's nice because it automatically selects the track between the songs. So every track is basically cut together for me. I can go and listen to it and decide what I want to keep, rip the tracks I want, name them, save them as a WAV or an MP3, and then reuse the disc. So that's become my new favorite format. But until I got that CD recorder, I used that for everything. And I still love the format. The sound quality is fantastic. I think they're cool the way they work. But these are all getting long in the tooth now. The tapes are wearing out. I'm sure the heads are wearing out on the machines too. I got a number of DAT machines, so I'm probably good for the rest of my life, hopefully. I think I got 10 of them in reserve, so I only use a couple. So I got a few of them to go. But still one of my favorite formats. The sound quality off of digital audio tape was second to none. And in the 48 kilohertz mode, it's even better than CD. Anyway, this recording is done. We're going to rewind the tape and make sure that everything plays. So I'll just hit skip back, should take me back to the beginning of that track. And then play. Now remember, I fumbled around with the button for a few seconds, but there we go. Recording sounding perfect. Okay, I'm happy that this is done. Oops. This one's done. This one's fixed. All right. Now you know what to do on these units. We'll catch you in the next one. Bye.